Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 20th night of the 21-day Joy and Success Challenge. And boy,
Mm.
what a challenge it has been for us, and a joy.
Yeah.
Challenge and a joy. And we've been seeing some successes. And we've had some beautiful successes. We got a beautiful note from Gordon earlier today in the wee hours of the morning to tell us how the challenge has been affecting him. So we want to encourage you if you think you know someone, I think all of us know someone who the effects of this challenge will be good for. Please do share the link with them to the group, share the link with them to the YouTube. Any one of the YouTube videos, those links will be good because they automatically lead you to the next one. So that being said, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome. I am Reverend Dr. Amber Joy Daniel, and I am here with my head, my handsome, my honey, my husband pie, uh, Reverend Dr. Dane Daniel, the original Dr. Daniel, who lights up my life. So, without further ado, I would turn over to him to open in prayer or whatever else he
Yes.
wants to do.
Let's open in prayer. Dear Father, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for this challenge. Thank you for all the challenges you've been giving us during this period. And blessings to everyone who's watching, everyone who's participated, and reach everyone exactly where you want to touch them tonight, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. So
Amen.
tonight, guess what? We decided to do Ludwig van Beethoven. And so we're going to the bridge between the classical and romantic periods in music history. So some more classical music. We had Bach a few nights ago, and now Beethoven. And what a story. So as we get started, just a reminder how we're kicking our days off. Yes, we're starting with engaging Jesus first thing, first breath, first thought, first choice, right? And then we thank him. So we find two things that we thank Jesus for. So we enter his gates with thanksgiving in our hearts. And we write those two things down. And then we do two joy verses. And those are easy to find, like with a Google, right? And then after that, we look at a destiny goal and something we can do today to help us reach that destiny goal. Some simple task that gives us, puts us on the right path. We get an edge a little closer to fulfilling that goal every day. And then we say two statements. I am responsible and I am strong and
You
capable.
see the gentleman saying his own there?
Yeah,
It's
he's
in
doing a
his
good job,
phone.
isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's saying, I am responsible. I am strong. And he's saying it with a little oomph and pizzazz. You see his hands there in the
That's right.
motion.
We say these things with vision armor, with armor. So we empower our statements with belief, with seeing our future use, right? Our daughter just walked in the room, excuse us.
It's supposed
She's
to be
supposed to be
schooling.
asleep.
Yes, school in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, see it, believe it, imagine it, use all your imaginative powers. And yeah, put some punch behind those statements and behind looking at your destiny goals as we get some easy wins in just a few minutes early every morning.
yeah.
Anything you'd like to add to that, honey? Let's see what
Yes.
other slide you gave us.
Well, I'm following your slides. So I believe that this one was write down, reflect, and listen. So
Yeah.
you see your girl and your gent here, they are writing it down and they are reflecting and they are listening.
Mhm.
Write down, reflect, and listen. I feel as though I am for me, the writing down has been a game changer. And the reflecting and listening that has been really special too. But the writing down has been a key piece. I could think of things and just say, Lord, I thank you for these two things in the morning, but writing it down has been a real game changer for me. And again, we are instituting a first love principle for all of your life from here on. It will be first love, and that looks like first breath, first thought,
Mhm.
first choice.
Yeah. And the good life coaches tell you about writing things down, that if you don't write them down, you devalue them and you might even forget them. There are a few things I write down. I've had written down since the beginning of the challenge. Like I do 260 calories at the gym every day. I take one day off Saturdays, Sabbath day. Same with my writing. I do at least 1 hour of writing translation every day except Sabbath. And I make my bed every day. I have that written down. And then what we're doing in this challenge. And just having it in the mind like that, seeing it first thing and then engaging and getting his strength first thing has made it possible to just keep on keeping on, even when it's tough, even when the day throws some challenges at me, right? We don't let our days or our circumstances determine our success. It's how we react to our circumstances. And so it's been really powerful for me doing this with you all. And so just trying some new principles, and it's been fun learning. And so we can keep improving as we go in our quest for practical Christianity.
Mhm. And so this one is setting the tone to continue. Setting the tone makes us proactive in praise. And then, of course, we have the importance of follow through, right? So every day, we can bring it a little closer. Every day, we want to set the tone. We want to not just set the time, but set the tone. Give yourself an early victory first thing in the morning. And just doing this daily, this 5 minute, 1 hour and a half for some of us, right? Good. There are days when I have the time and it really easily turns into something a lot longer. But this is a rewiring of the brain for a quick win, for success. I mean, imagine you did your two, you feel like you got 8 victories. Two, Lord, I thank you for two joy verses, your destiny goal, and you did something, even if it took 10 minutes to do it, and then you did your two I am statements. Okay, and then if you added that you made your bed, by the time you leave the house, you're a success, you're a winner. You've rewired your day. And so you're ready for the day with a proactive praise, a joyful spirit. So rather than letting the day happen to you, uh, you meet it with expectation and that grateful heart. And so then the follow through. Um, don't you love the unfinished bridge there?
Yeah.
The bridge to nothingness. Who wants to
Into the
have
fall.
that? Yeah, the bridge
Yeah.
to the fall for real. So when we enjoy follow through, even with the smallest intentions of our morning, like waking up on time, praying, going for a walk, you build that. Oh, I should add going to a walk. You build that pattern of trust with yourself and with God, and your neurons and wiring that they get working, and also the dopamine. Every time you hit one of those, you actually get a dopamine shot. So
Hmm.
start right and empower yourself. Take charge, take your destiny, and build a morning of peace. Lay the foundation for a successful day and a successful life.
All right. And then here we are, Life Culture, lifeculturefamily.com. And we promised by tomorrow the website would be up. Yeah. And thank God we're going to be able to start taking donations there too. We've been working with the banks. Yeah, we've been really investing to get it up and going. And so we're looking forward to getting that piece in place, the website, and getting financially sound. And then we have our heart spa, and people are welcome to come there. So if you're interested in coming to the heart spa, let us know. Our very first service is going to be on August 30th, and we'll start eating at 2 p.m. and the service itself will be at 4 p.m. Now that time may change. We'll talk to everyone and get some good feedback on when would be the ideal time to hold our services. But our first event, yeah, 4 p.m.
Mhm.
And anything else you'd like to add about? Yeah.
Yes, I would like to add that we We've been sharing that we are here to put broken hearts back together again. And often that's what a broken heart looks like, full of armor, some not so pretty, some very, very pretty. And we are all about all of these things you see here, growing together, praying, building families, having fellowship, eating, music, quiet times. And this part, we haven't ever shown you what travel looks like. Do you remember where we were here? Well, it says Budapest.
Yes,
So
but
we had
it's
been to Buda that morning and Pest the night before. So this is actually in Buda. And so this was
in the
in
hill. So Budapest is one city, but up on the hill you have the
the
older
old
town, and then
city.
down below you'll have the parliament across the river. What a beautiful place in Hungary, one of the very important Habsburg capitals. Yeah.
So you may or may not see yourself in this picture.
Some of you will.
Some of you
And if you're not
will.
in there, you're going to have to come with us on a future journey. We always
And
have a conference too, a really beautiful prophetic conference to go with our journeys.
yeah, I think though we've been going for a few years now, and man, this trip was one for the books, I think.
Yeah.
This was like a fairy tale.
So this was with our business end of things with Destiny Strategists, but now we've gone nonprofit. So we have life culture, and so we'll kind of keep the DS element and do embed the life culture as part of this life culture ministry. Yeah, but keeping international and seeing the world
But
and
travel opens
yeah.
some very unique experiences to your heart. It expands your heart actually to be able to just have certain experiences. And so
Yeah.
this is the group again.
Builds confidence.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, they say there are all sorts of interesting statistics about those who travel that they earn more, that are a lot more knowledgeable generally. Those who are in college get a job much more quickly coming out when they've traveled abroad and done study abroad. There are a lot of really good reasons to go see the world.
Yeah, and those who I didn't get to go this morning, this was conference morning. So this palace I did not get to see. And everybody came back and said it was so beautiful. It was
Oh
like
yeah, that's
oh,
Schönbrunn. That's yeah, Vienna.
yes.
This was the Habsburg, yeah, castle. I mean, wow, the history there.
Yeah.
All the monarchs who lived there, including Marie Antoinette, before she went to Paris, she grew up there.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
And
And
Joseph II, Beethoven actually dedicated one of his pieces to Joseph II after his death. He was one of the great Habsburg enlightened monarchs, and Beethoven was very impressed with the philosophers, the enlightened thinkers of the period who were kind of moving toward a more modern world, one based on natural rights and and soon the implementation of constitutions, that type of thing, the thing that our country is founded on.
yeah, so just some really pleasant memories there. And
Mhm.
before that, we'd gone to Ireland, and some of you were there. And before that, we did Trinidad and Tobago. And it's always neat when you could do like more than one island or more than one country. Sometimes it's,
Yeah,
it's like in Ireland, a big, well, we did Ireland and Northern Ireland, we could say. So
yeah,
we
we
could
did.
say that we've always done multiple countries. Well,
Right,
Trinidad
into that
and
and Tobago.
Tobago, two islands, but one country. So we could at least say that people at least always get a 2 for 1.
Yeah.
With our trips, you get at least a 2 for 1. So we really feel that there is bang for your buck on that. And when we received, I felt like we should share that tonight, Han,
Mm,
because we're coming to the end of the challenge, and that was actually in the if the instructions that we got actually, if you want to call that prophetic word, um, where we were told about this ministry that we were going to have 9 years, 5 months, and 28 days ago, um, and they said travel. You'd be going so much. People would say,
yeah.
"Where are they now?"
Yeah.
And
The
so,
last year has been really insane.
yeah,
I think in the last year I've been in at least 15 countries, and you all have been with me in most of those.
yes.
Yeah,
And
crazy.
I wanted to
Yeah.
I wanted to put it there that we don't do that just because it's fun. We do it because we've been told that that's what we would do.
Yeah, well, sometimes we end up traveling without even trying. It just
Yeah,
happens
when these
because
girls get married all over the world and they say you have to come, we're like, yes, 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 we have to come. So we
it's like
go.
South Africa last year.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
the Lord said that we would do it because we understand what He's doing in nations. Now, to be honest, I don't know if I understand for sure what it is every time before we leave, but by the time we get there, by conference day, which is usually in the last 3 days of the trip, we have we have grasped or discerned something for that country, and the our prayer and our hmm, we always leave the country with having prayed for them, prayed for their people, come away with an understanding of what the people who live there are dealing with, contending with in the spirit. Is very, very, very interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah. So let's go back to
Our slides.
our slides. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little, yeah, segue on what we do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next slide, I'm looking forward to
We,
seeing what you're gonna do this time.
what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? So I don't quite know why that
Oh,
is there.
huh.
So this is the next slide. Whoops! Okay, our
Whoops.
slides are
Out
running
of
away
order,
with
maybe.
us. They're running ahead of me. They're
Okay.
running ahead of mommy. All right, so here we go, guys. All
All
right, so we've
right.
come now to Dane's daily etymology.
So every day we're doing something on the history of the origin and evolution of words. Yes, being wordsmiths, if you will. And I thought, well, let's look at prayer today and tomorrow to finish up the challenge.
Does this look appropriate?
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to the Oxford English Dictionary, a prayer, what it means in the dictionary is a solemn request for help or expression of thanks addressed to God or an object of worship. Right? For us, then, it's a request or a thanksgiving. Right? How appropriate. And it comes from, well, guess it, the old French. Again, we keep seeing that. We started with joie. Joy itself, calm delight, entered into our language through the old French. And now we get prayer. I can't even pronounce that. Can you pronounce old French?
Prière.
Prière. So, and that means earnest request or petition. And that comes from the medieval Latin precaria, which means petition or prayer. And the Latin root ultimately, precari, means to ask earnestly or to entreat, and it's connected to the Proto-Indo-European root prek, meaning to ask or request. So it comes right from the root word to ask or request. Proto-Indo-European, by the way, so we're in a language family called the Indo-European language family. And we're in the branch of Germanic languages as the English language, but we're very heavily influenced by the French, as we've seen through the Norman invasion of the 11th century when the French went into England and brought tons of Latin root words. So, so we get the Old French, the Middle Latin, and the Latin coming in. Um, Let me read this. The word pray, the verb associated with prayer, it shares a similar etymological path, originating from Old French, how do you say it?
Prière.
Plié, and ultimately tracing back to the Latin precari.
Prière.
Yeah, so in essence, the word prayer and the act of praying are rooted in the fundamental human experience of making requests, seeking help, expressing needs to our higher power. So tomorrow I want to look at the Anglo-Saxons and how they express that before getting that old French input.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so tonight,
You want to go then to the tabernacle. So we enter his gates first thing in the morning, enter the gates with thanksgiving in our hearts. And you've been taking us inside and It's been beautiful, this experience. So what do you have tonight?
So, staying with prayer, we've already covered that this idea that we live under the canopy
Mhm.
and this idea that we are covered by the wings of God, right? We are never alone, and that God is always covering and over us. And we've also covered this sense that in prayer we could face God and ask Him for anything. And just to continue that, that was all of these are the old tabernacle. This is a tabernacle of Moses. This here, where in the tabernacle of Moses, the presence was outside and you could see it
Hmm.
outside. And uh the same way, tabernacle of Moses again, and this is also tabernacle of Moses again, where the one high priest can go in. This here now is a tabernacle of Solomon. And
Hmm.
Solomon, they had, when Solomon dedicated the temple, the presence of the Lord shot out of the temple, and he felt they say the glory of the Lord filled the temple.
Hmm.
And man, I've been studying that since I was a little girl and wondering what might that have been like. Now, Solomon gave like
Hmm.
thousands upon thousands upon like 10,000 oxen, 20,000 bullocks. I mean, like just thousands and thousands of sacrifices to bring this about. He didn't know that that's what God would do. But the priests, they couldn't even stand. The glory of the Lord filled the temple, and the priest couldn't stand. He couldn't even, not he, all of them couldn't even stand in God's glory. He was doing his own thing. So the question is, how do we get from the old tabernacle and how the glory looked then to this new tabernacle where it's just flowing out of us and with us being the tabernacle now?
Hmm.
And I only have one point really to share on it.
Hmm.
And it's really for us to take this in. And of course, it's just a picture. We don't know what it really looks like unless you've been there and had your own experience. But I hope that this person's image is sparking off for you your own ideas or something in your imagination that the Lord would lead you to. But the word that came to me with regard to getting us from there, where we've always been or what we've known, to here, where we want to go and what we want to experience, which is the fullness of the measure of the glory of God, is the word reverence.
Hmm.
I feel as though um, when we think of God as far above us or present, but not near, we could lose sight of reverence. And there's just so much majesty, maybe, in this picture,
Hmm.
and order, holiness, light, beauty, magnificence, calm, power, radiating from, and I know this is just somebody's imaginative expression, but it makes me feel an awe and wonder and reverence. And that's all that was on my heart today, that as we pray, as we do what we do, that we remember that God is, the Father is awe-inspiring and holy and ought to be reverenced.
Hmm. Hmm.
I do think that he smiles a lot more than maybe this
Yeah.
portrait portrays, but this is awe-inspiring indeed anyway. But that's all I had, guys.
Well,
That
thank
may
you.
be a secret ingredient from the glory that is overarching and outside of us to this glory within, where we could pray and ask God for anything and He would give it to us, is with reverence. And um, I want to say that the example was sparked for me from Daniel. Daniel, Nehemiah, you'll see all of them. They thanked God first They repented, which is your brazen altar where you give the sacrifice and you burn up all the stuff. They repented for themselves and their people, their nation, and then they made their petition. And so it takes a whole lot of reverence and respect for one to adequately and properly repent. And so I want to highlight the reverence part just so that we get all the other pieces to fall in there. That's it.
Thank you, love. All right. Well, let's turn to our joy profile for today. Ludwig van Beethoven from Bonn
Right.
Universe, well, from Bonn, Germany. It's in Germany today, and he spent most of his life, though, in Vienna, in Austria, the hub of great classical music, right? Um, Now, what a character. We see so much suffering with Beethoven, and it's amazing that this song, Ode to Joy, his greatest maybe composition, his greatest work, comes out of all of this suffering. And he was nearly completely deaf when he wrote that. So his joy-filled conviction that joy is the mainspring in the whole of endless nature transformed personal tragedy into universal triumph that still moves millions to tears and proves that joy conquers every obstacle. So we call him the joyful overcomer. And if you'll read the verse that we have.
We've got Psalm 35. The English Standard says, "Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy comes with the
I
morning."
get this verse a lot when I'm doing the
Oh,
morning.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
I've probably only gotten it once or twice. So yes, the King James says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning."
Mhm.
And the Passion says, "The nights of crying your eyes out give way to days of laughter and joy." This is
This,
beautiful.
mm. So let's talk a little bit about Beethoven. Um,
Do you want
Hi,
me?
good night.
no, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's look at
Hi.
the picture. I mean, what a character. They say he had darker skin. He's about 5'4", uh, disheveled hair, and he was a real star of his day. Like when he moved to Vienna, he he was one of those great piano players, virtuosos. He ran everyone else out of town who challenged him to a playoff. And
They did that?
yeah, they did that. They'd come from all over, say, "Oh, I can play too." No one could match. He played so passionately. He was so full of passion, and women would faint listening to him. I mean, he was the rock star of his day. I mean, this guy, when he died, he had they guessed 20,000 at his funeral.
Oh, wow.
But he was also a very difficult personality in many respects. And not only was he disheveled here, but they say that his apartments were a mess. He ended up living in about 60 different places, in part because he kept getting kicked out because he would like run water over his hands while singing loudly and causing flooding in rooms below. And he'd have like his chamber pot under his piano and it's very smelly and food everywhere. So he wasn't like the organized virtuoso. And even his composition techniques, like with Mozart, they say that Mozart had the songs, the whole symphonies in his head, and he'd just write down what heaven gave him without a mistake. And I'm sure there's a little exaggeration in that, but he didn't really have to change things a lot. Not Beethoven. He's constantly erasing, squibbling out, and you just get this sense of a madman almost. But he's the one who took us, he bridged the classical era to the romantic era in music. So in the classical period, you had Mozart and Haydn. It's very whimsical and joyful, light music usually. I mean, there was some serious music too, but you know, we just think of easygoing, joyful, light music when we think of classical. Beethoven, he started bringing really intense passion to music. He inaugurates the Romantic era in music, and that would also include a lot of nationalism, and it would include a lot of folk dances and a very different period in music because of his efforts. But let's back up just a little bit, say a little bit about him. So we know on the timeline he was um, born in Bonn, Germany. Now I've spent about a month in Bonn. What a beautiful place! I took you there
Yes,
once.
when you said the name, a certain memory came to mind.
Yeah, yeah. There we go.
My husband
Baptized
makes my husband makes
1754.
very practical jokes on me, and in Bonn was where I learned was my first experience with his practical joke
Uh-oh.
aside.
What did I do? Yeah, I don't remember.
Isn't that where you told me that he liked that the professor liked?
Oh, oh, okay. All right. Well, let's not go there. Yes, yes.
Yes, I prefer to not
we
go.
don't want to put that online.
Mm, mm.
But first known public concert at age 7. So his grandfather was a talented musician. So we see this a lot with these musicians. His grandfather also Ludwig, but his father was exploitative. He exploited him. He knew he was talented. He beat him. He was very harsh with him. He was an alcoholic. And I mean, it was so bad that later in his life, when he heard his father died, he didn't even go back. Um, he went back for his mother's funeral, but not his father's. But but his father thought, well, maybe we can do with him what we did with Mozart and just send him, playing around Europe, making a bunch of money. And as it turns out, though, well, some people discovered Beethoven. They realized by the time he was 8, people knew he was a virtuoso. First compositions, age 12. They say he met Mozart in Vienna, and Mozart said, "This is a guy to be reckoned with. He's going to leave a mark." But then he found out his mother died, and he had to rush back to Bonn, and there he ended up having to take over the family. I mean, he had to take care of his siblings and his father while he was there. It was really tough. But he was living in Vienna most of his life, and he got to study with Haydn. Haydn, one of the two greatest classical composers who ever lived. So the two greatest classical composers from the classical period are Mozart and Haydn. And Beethoven got to go study with Haydn. He was so proud and so happy about that. So he goes and takes his frantic ways and his passionate ways to Vienna and leaves his mark. And great compositions like Moonlight Sonata, he fell in love with a woman there. So the tragedy too of Beethoven is he never married, but he was in love a number of times, and generally with noble women, and they couldn't marry under them, and it was just heartbreaking to him constantly. Hmm. And his name, he tried to pass it off as von Beethoven as being somehow noble, but it really meant something like by the turnip fields, or the turnip garden. And that came out later in his life. He was in a long custody battle for his nephew, and he won custody, but then his nephew tried to commit suicide. So I think he did a poor job, is trying to raise him. And his mother actually had to come back rescue the nephew he'd won custody of. But so he had a hard life in many respects. And in his 20s, he's going deaf already at the end of his 20s. And by the end of his life, he's totally deaf. And and he talks at times about wanting to commit suicide. How am I going to make it through this? But near the end of his life, right before he composes Ode to Joy, he starts studying the church and Christianity. And and he gets this great joy in his heart, and he writes one of the most beautiful symphonies we've ever heard in this great chorus. First symphony, by the way, with a chorus in Ode to Joy, and you all know that. right? How does it go? You have a beautiful singing voice.
Sing to joy and gladness now and evermore to freedom song.
Something like that.
Open up our heart's desire with joy that's never ending. But look it up, it's beautiful.
Just, and he wrote so much. Uh, and again, he created the Romantic era, really, in music. He bridged the classical with this passion he brought, and I mean, almost no one has left a mark like him in music. And it's remarkable. He goes through all this pain, almost suicide, and and overcomes and fights through where he can't even hear. Uh, at one, he really admired, like I said earlier, the philosophes. He admired Napoleon too. He even wrote a symphony for Napoleon. But then, I mean, because he was against the aristocracy, a champion of the people and the revolution. But then when Napoleon expanded the war and then decided to crown himself emperor, he became a dictator. Beethoven was so angry, he made sure he ripped Napoleon's name out of his great masterpiece, and he renamed the symphony the Heroica, which means heroic, and kind of a theme piece of the revolution. But he was really excited to be part of this new world, the revolutionary world, where we're leaving the old ways, the feudal order, and moving into the world of constitutions and natural rights. And yeah, what an amazing man. What an amazing man. But then he dies. And he wasn't that old. What was he, 57?
56.
Yeah, so he died in 1827,
Mhm.
1770 to 1827. 1770 to 1827. Yeah.
So do you want to tell us anything else about him, hun? Because
Yeah,
we're
save
going
some of
to,
that. There's so much you could say about him.
yeah.
I, what time do we have? I want to see where we are.
Oh, we have 15 minutes. Okay. So, just some pictures of that's not the slide I want. I made sure to go to the slide I wanted, and my technology is doing its own thing. All right. So the slide that I wanted to show him there. He looks a little depressed in that one, but he lost his mom early, so we can imagine what that would have been like. Just some pictures of him then. That one is a little more whimsical. See him there thinking and writing at the same time.
Yeah, what a different character. He had a morning routine. So he woke up early. He's known for getting up before dawn. He wanted to get started early and get to his composing, but he wanted coffee every day. So he counted out his coffee beans, exactly 60 every single morning. Sometimes these geniuses have these bizarre quirks, right? 60, one at a time, counted every single morning, which only makes like a small cup of coffee. But he'd write, he always go for a walk and he'd bring along some music sheets so that he could write some ideas as he got them. But it was really important for him to experience nature. But he tended to want to have a bit of a social life, usually in the evenings. And he had a taste for wine and he liked to go out and he smoked a pipe. He was an eccentric character in some ways and was yeah, it's so really moody though, but he's like this unapproachable artist in some ways, and in many respects, the people love that too about him, the difficult artist.
So we'll be talking about this in a little more depth in the VIP. There's also been some questions about whether he was black, and I'll deal with those. We'll deal with those in the VIP as well. Very interesting.
Whether he might have had,
Very interesting. Yes.
yeah,
So this brings us to the effect of
science.
hope on the brain. Yes. So Dean outlined that he had a difficult childhood. I mean, really difficult. His father was a court musician, and when he realized his son was a prodigy, if we want to call it that, the son automatically became the father's meal ticket, his gravy train. And how does a young man who is exploited, and he was exploited from young, like 5, 6, 7, when the father would wake him up at night to practice the piano, and if he made mistakes, he was physically beaten, you know. So this is a young man who is very resilient,
Mhm.
and the fascinating neuroscience behind Beethoven's resiliency, um, this was a resilience creating triumphant joy uh, that helped him to get through all the things that he did, including deafness, and to remain a composer. He composed for more years deaf than he did as a hearing man. So, modern research explains why joy in guaranteed victory creates extraordinary strength during suffering. So here's someone who suffered, but somehow he knew by the end it's all going to work out.
So he saw that future you. He had that imaginative power that we've been talking about.
hmm hmm So
Mhm.
studies show that people who maintain hope and meaning during adversity demonstrate 52% higher resilience, 41% better stress recovery, and significantly enhanced ability to create positive outcomes from negative circumstances. This creates what researchers call post-traumatic growth. You know, we hear about post-traumatic stress, PTSD disorder. Well, this is PTG. It's not a disorder, it's probably a blessing.
Mhm.
PTGB. The neurological transformation that occurs makes people stronger through trials rather than breaking them down and making them weaker. And Beethoven's joy in what he saw as an inevitable triumph. Somehow, I'm getting out of here. And people say that people in the Holocaust, there were two types of people as well. Do you remember that when they said, people who said, by Christmas, I'll be here by
Mhm.
Christmas. But if Christmas came and they weren't out of there, they were weakened. They were
Oh yeah, the
dying
people
because
who said, "I'm going to get out of here before Christmas,"
yeah,
gave
by
themselves that
birthday.
message in the concentration camps.
Yes.
Yeah, that was almost a death sentence.
Yes. So
Mhm.
that if it didn't happen, by Saturday, we would get the good news by Saturday. And then if it didn't happen by Saturday, they were all the bad stress hormones surged. But people who said, I don't know when, but I'm coming out of here. I'm coming out of here alive. I'm coming out of here with all my faculties intact. They had what we would also call in the literature now a growth mindset or grit, something that enabled them to go for the long haul. And so
Mhm.
Beethoven's joy in inevitable triumph was optimizing his brain for a type of resilience that we could even call it supernatural during the suffering. So while others were defeated by adversity, his victory focused joy was generating more and more hope, more and more creative energy, and transcendent meaning. His delight in guaranteed morning, weeping may endure for the night, but morning, this had a turnaround, was creating neural pathways for triumph that could compose celebration during tragedy. And if you listen to especially Symphony Number 9, which is where Ode to Joy is very, very beautiful. I listened to like 5 different versions today, and then it's like, I'm gonna stop. You need to do your work. Um, so if you do get a chance, we could probably put some links for you in the Facebook group, but the London Symphony Orchestra is beautiful and the vocals are very, very interesting because I never expected to see a very black soprano. It's very, very interesting hearing that voice coming from a black woman. Anyway, that is an aside. So Beethoven's brain was literally being strengthened for victory even while he was going through his suffering. And we could call his deafness a suffering, but triumph focused joy increases BDNF. We talked about that earlier, brain-derived neurotrophic factor for neural growth. It releases endorphins for natural pain relief, and it activates the prefrontal cortex for meaning making. So even though he was deaf, his body was being biochemically prepared for creative breakthrough in other areas because his joy was programming him for victory rather than victimhood.
Mhm.
So I think that I'll stop there. People who engage in hope and meaning, if you could keep light of that in your future you, even if you're going through adversity, you will have an enhanced ability to create positive outcomes from negative circumstances. Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's remarkable to me thinking that he did have this morning routine and he anchored his days that way. And I would guess near the end of his life when he was studying cantatas and really engaging the church, that was really helping him. And he meant in his composition to move people. He was very intentional about what he wanted people to feel. That is the Romantic era because they were moving out of the Enlightenment, the Age of Reason, and they were moving toward the heart. Yeah, at that time. And so I mean, it was kind of strange, counting out each of those 60 coffee beans and getting up really early every morning. But, he's writing these depressive letters at one point, actually even considering suicide, but overcomes all of that and gives us this great beauty and works like the Moonlight Sonata, for example, which was written to another of his, yeah, loves that had to go marry a noble and broke his heart again. But
Yeah.
but all this disappointment and even the suicidal attempt of his nephew, who when he was had custody of him, he somehow overcame this and still managed to leave this great impact so that the people loved him. I mean, he was difficult at times roaming the street, getting in trouble. One time thrown in jail because yeah, he was just making too much of a scene in the streets. But, but 20,000 again showed up at his funeral. And one of the most admired people, I think, ever. One of the most admired, one of the most amazing musicians ever. Yes. So, Hunt,
So it's time for the question.
yeah, let's go to our question. Here's your Beethoven inspired question. What current trial or suffering could become your ode to joy if you approached it with Beethoven's triumph focused joy that believes morning always follows night? So it might be loss or rejection, illness, failure, any circumstance that feels like it could silence your song, right? Um, Beethoven's joy success secret, the triumph victory joy practice. Find delight in the certainty that morning always follows night, and let that victory focused joy create strength that transforms suffering into testimony and trials into triumph. Like Beethoven composing Ode to Joy while deaf, let joy in guaranteed victory create beauty that proves breakthrough is always possible. Hmm.
Breakthrough is always possible. As long as you have life, there is hope.
And our daily joy, blurb Dr. Joy.
Sure, yes. Joy doesn't wait for victory. It composes triumph during trials. Beethoven discovered overcoming strength by celebrating inevitable mourning during darkness. Morning is coming. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy is coming. It's coming in the morning. He found creative breakthrough by believing joy conquers every suffering. He composed universal hope by maintaining victory focus during personal tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy. And his triumph focused joy proved that weeping endures for the night, but joy comes in the morning. And your delight in guaranteed victory creates resilience that transforms every trial into testimony. I want to say something here because you have to believe that the victory is guaranteed. It
Mm.
wasn't a belief in maybe victory. That doesn't work. It has to be a belief in guaranteed victory. And I also want to make a disclaimer about the picture here. The mysterious guidance is not in the universe, but in the person who created the universe, you know? So this is our joy mission for this week, for these 21 days. We're challenging you to do a BTC, first love, first breath, first thought, first choice. We're challenging you to start your day in Him with thankfulness. Write down two things you're thankful for.
Mhm.
Read two joy verses. Continue with what is your big destiny goal that you can see yourself achieving. Write it down. Then reverse engineer. Write down one small, consistent daily habit that will help you get there. Then do it. And then say your declarations, your I am statements. I am responsible. I am strong and capable. And we're asking, is your floor rising? Are your standards changing?
Yeah, what you'll tolerate in life.
Yeah.
Are you getting rid of some things, sweeping some things to the side?
And one of the things that we should sweep to the side is maybe victory or certain defeat. Some of us live in a place of certain defeat
Mm.
or even maybe defeat. Well, maybe it wouldn't work out. Live with it's definitely going to work out. I don't know how, but it's definitely going to work out. It's either it works out or it works out. Not maybe it won't work out.
Or if it doesn't happen by Christmas, forget it, right? So,
We know somebody who says, go to the park again. If they don't get to go to the park today, I never go to the park again. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We want to see ourselves, imagine ourselves as future you.
yeah, with that vision armor, as we've been putting it, right? We want to imagine with imaginative power, see it and believe it. Put yourself in the place of that person who accomplished your destiny goal and spike the ball, celebrate it. Maybe you have a vision board up with a picture of it, whatever it takes to put on that armor so that you can have that help in getting it done every day to consistently stay on track.
Yeah. And so that's where we're going to wrap it up tonight, guys. So this has been the Joy and Success Journey. This is the inaugural Life Culture Experience. We have studied so far 20 out of 21 heroes in 21 days. Well,
Mhm.
20 out of 21 days. It's one code to joy and success. It's your invitation to align, to rise, and to belong. We started on August 1st, and we came all the way through to tonight, the 20th. Our final night is tomorrow.
And who are we doing?
We are doing Kathryn Kuhlman.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Interesting day to wrap it all up tomorrow. So,
Yes,
yeah,
so
thank you so much. We're so blessed that you've been with us. I mean, those who've you've been with us from the start, or even those who just want to watch, watch the replays. Blessings to you too.
and we just are blessed that you took the journey with us, and we will see those of you who are staying in the VIP. God bless.
Good night.